48 minutes a game. What's good, team? Today we got special guests. One of my very, very good friends, one of my best friends in the world, three-time NBA champion. Let me say that again. Three-time NBA champion, Phil Handy. Kennedy, bring Phil on for me, please. What up, Phil?
What's up, big dog? What up, Christopher? Hey, not too many people know you by Christopher, dog.
Phil, we on 48 minutes of game. So what we want to do in this episode is share as much game as possible. So we're going to hit on some of the things that you've had in your life, some milestones, but our full focus is going to be focused on trying to share as much knowledge to show the platform and show other people how they can get to where we are.
Absolutely, brother. I'm all about sharing knowledge.
That's just crazy. So, guys, as you guys are tuning in, Phil is a three-time NBA champion. His first one was with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Second one was in Toronto. And his third one was this past year in the bubble with the Lakers. Phil has not only just been in the NBA, but he's owned his own company leading to this point of player development. He was in the grind. He's still on the grind. And I think that's the difference maker between my best friend and a lot of other coaches out there. Not to say that they don't do it the right way, but I think it makes him an exceptional coach because he understands how to develop and build. And whenever you can develop and build, you can build anything. Don't you agree, Phil?
100%, man. You know, I think, Chris, we've had this conversation before, but a lot of people think development coaches or skills trainers are not coaches, which is
right.
I always say that's so far from the truth, because in order to be able to develop and teach, you have to understand the game, and you have to be able to coach the game and dissect the game.
And so dissect it.
That part is really important, man. Being able to teach the game, but also understand the game from an IQ standpoint as well.
So that's something, Phil, that I want to lead into and to be able to share is the groundwork. You know, everybody wants to get to the top, but you and I know that it's a process for everything. What is the most important step that a young coach, a young developer in our basketball game should take initially to start building his career? Like if I would give an example of like if I just graduated college, I'm through playing basketball, but I want to get into coaching, what would be some initial steps so that we can give him like a plan or an outline to guide him in that direction?
Well, I mean, I think really learning how the NBA works and even certain college levels. You know, a lot of guys that are trying to get into the industry, there's no fast track. Let's just start with that. There is no fast track. There is no skip the line and let me get to the end. You know, when I first came into the league, I started out at the very bottom. You know, I was a player development coach, but I had to learn. Right, every day was a learning. It was a tremendous learning process for me, Chris. I always encourage a lot of people coming out of college. Right, they don't understand the process of being a video coordinator. A lot of people start in the video room, right, and that's breaking down film. And then that allows you to, one, start to understand the game from an offensive and defensive standpoint at this level, breaking down people's defensive schemes, understanding how they defend, understanding how people run their offense, spacing, timing. So the video room to me is a great place to start.
Now in the video room, they have video coordinators and they have internships. For those people that don't know. So they do have different platforms as an entry level to getting in.
All right. And that's a great way to build yourself up to be able to get on the court, right? And I'm not saying that the guys coming out of college they're not ready to develop. That's not what I mean. You know, they may be, but I always think it's great because when I first came into the league, I had to learn how to do video. I had to learn how to break film down. I didn't know how. I didn't, you know, I knew how to watch games and you know, sit in front of my couch and sit and watch a game, but understanding how to break film down from a technical standpoint, that was a huge learning curve for me. And it's such a big part of coaching on the professional level, whether it be in college and or professionally. Understanding how to break film down is crucial. So I had to learn that step. It wasn't just on the court, right?
Right.
I also had to learn the schemes of Mike Brown. He was my first head coach. I had to understand what his team philosophy was about, offensively and defensively, and then figuring out, okay, how do I take what Coach Brown wants and instill this into our players individually, while at the same time allowing these dudes to be who they are individually. So
Right.
there's a balance. So I think, Chris, the beginning, everybody's path is different. Let's address that too, right? Because
Right.
your path is different than my path. My path is different than, Jason Kidd's path.
Right.
So everybody has a different path into coaching, but understanding that you always have to start somewhere. You can't start at the end. So
No.
being able and being willing to take whatever job is put in front of you, and then as you take that job, master that job.
Right. That's man. Listen, that's valuable information because when you look at film and you understand how to utilize film to develop, not only from when I look at development, Phil, I look at development from an individual standpoint, and then you have team development. It's two different developments.
All right.
But watching film allows you to understand the two, because now you're taking a scheme in a team development and you're able to break it down to individual development where guys may be getting particular shots on the floor and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Now, how do you navigate um, the introductions or like since there hasn't been a summer league this past year, summer league is a good platform for young people to go out and to hand out the resumes or emailing. What would be one of the things that you would do if you were coming into the league or trying to catch the attention of someone to be able to get those type of positions? What would you do?
Right now in COVID, man, COVID is taking is like you said, Chris. Summer league was it's a huge. That's the basketball mecca in the summertime, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
anybody in the basketball industry from around the world is in Las Vegas to attend the summer league. So
That's true.
you have the hub of the basketball world right there in one place. That's a huge disadvantage now that COVID has taken that away from a lot of up and coming trainers and coaches and guys that want to get into the industry, because as you said, they might be sitting across the room and they might see a GM or a head coach
Right.
and be able to just go and introduce themselves. Man, I try to use the term pivot, Chris. We use that term in basketball.
I use it all the time. You got to
Pivot,
pivot.
man. We gotta learn
You
how to
got to
pivot.
pivot.
It's just just like the game, right? We have to learn how to pivot and find out other ways. So right now, the world has become what? Digital. The world is a digital place.
It's very
So
digital.
so now you have to be able to understand how to get visibility for yourself in a digital space. And
Mm,
not everybody's comfortable with that, right? That's one of the
right.
pivots.
That
If
is a
you if
pivot.
you physically cannot be seen or see someone, then how do you be seen? Now you have to figure out how to create space for yourself in the digital market, right? And that doesn't mean for sale, but you may display your skills via YouTube, via TikTok, via um, Instagram, all these platforms that are out there.
That's a platform. Yeah, that's crazy, Phil. Yeah.
So that's one way of pivoting, because again, the old way of what you can always email hundreds of coaches and GMs
Right.
and you know how that stuff goes. Most of the time it goes unanswered.
I think a lot of viewers need to understand the NBA is not even, it's only one platform to actually developing and coaching. And this
Right.
is a key standout. Guys, I want you to know, even with Phil being a three-time champion, Phil would get in the gym and develop any kid at any age. And so I've seen guys that want to be where Phil is, but not willing to develop at that young age. And that's where you really learn how to teach, Phil. And I think that's like the next part I want to pivot into is learning how to develop a development system. If you're going to be a trainer, how
Right.
important how important is it for a young up and coming coach to develop a system to develop the players?
Oh man, that's crucial. I mean, Chris, when we first met, what, in 2000, you know,
Four,
people don't really
14.
understand our history, our history of
Yeah.
like how we met and where we met, and just in the basketball world. And so, one of the first conversations that you and I had was, what was my foundation, right? What was the
Mhm.
basis of my training? And so, I've always had a foundation, building blocks. So, the foundation of everything I've ever done with training has always been footwork and balance. You know that to be true and true, right? That's always been the conversation that we've had. So even with yours, you have a system, right? You
Yep.
have a validated system of checks and balances that you go through with athletes to where they understand one, vocabulary. You have some terms that you use to break
Yep.
down your drills, and they on cue, right? After they get familiar working with you, it's on
And
cue.
it's boom.
You can
Yep.
spit out some vocabulary and verbiage, and they understand what you mean. So being able to create a system as a trainer not only helps your athletes, it helps you.
It
What's my
does. Keeps you
what's my why,
organized.
right? What's your purpose? What are you trying to get? What are you trying to get done with your athletes?
Mm.
What direction do you want to go in? So I've always wanted to be able to create a training system that I can train a 12-year-old female or train a 15-year vet in the NBA, and it still
It still
doesn't doesn't
flows. Yeah.
change, right? Doesn't change. So you shouldn't have to necessarily change the way you train an athlete because of the age or gender or size. If you have a training formula that you can use and help athletes
Right.
of all ages, all sizes, all positions get better, that's crucial. It helps.
It's
It helps trainers understand what their objectives are, and not
they're
just
not all over the
all
place.
over. Exactly, being all
Right.
over the place, right? Just
Is
you
all
have to
over the
have.
place. You can see it. And the one
Yeah.
thing, and so the audience, you guys will know, like Phil gave me a base footwork and balance. And even though I have my own vision, I took footwork, I took balance from my OG, and we built it out. So if me and Phil are on the court, we could flow and not even talk because we're always going to be in the same area because the game is broken down into so many spots, so many places. There's only so many things that you can do, but it's simple, it's detailed, and we're not all over the place. We're not trying to eat the whole pie. We're trying to get right here and trying to accomplish those things. So my thing is shout out to Phil for allowing me to learn that footwork, that balance, and then from there, just being around great people that are great developers. I don't know how many guys that are in the game the way Phil and I are, because there's some really good ones out there. But I'll put me and Phil up against anybody in the world when it comes to development. So Phil, we got some questions. We're gonna pivot.
Yeah.
Kennedy, let's bring some questions up from the audience before we pivot into branding and marketing. Okay. Shooting or defense. What you improve in someone's game first?
Um, in today's game, obviously
Yep.
today's is more of an offensive game, right? So there's always more of a premium on shooting. Shooting is one of
Yes.
the most sought after skills now because the game is pivoted to
It's
3 point
pivoted
3 point shooting.
and
So I
spacing.
mean, yes. Look, I always say defense wins championships, which is still very very true. But the high premium on shooting is probably the most coveted skill in the NBA right now. You have to be able to shoot the
Wow.
ball. You got to be able to shoot the ball to play.
You almost can look at a three-pointer with as many attempts as been a 4-point play.
Right.
Like it's almost like a 4-point play because if a team goes down and hit a three, you come score two, and they hit another three. They're on a 6-2 run.
Right. Right.
Like
Now, look, I
it.
think there has to be a check and balance with that, right? The
Yep.
three the
Yep.
three is a valuable shot, but threes alone will not win you championships.
No, sir.
They
No,
won't.
sir.
Yeah, you can try and outscore your opponents all you want. At some point, you're gonna have to be able to stop somebody. So even as I'm saying, you have to teach shooting first. That was a great question of two topics that
That's
are
too
crucial,
topic.
really
Yeah.
crucial topics.
Kennedy Brink, here we go. Would you start off as a trainer or coaching young kids if you want to be your own boss. I
Well,
don't think it's a difference between the two
there isn't, because
because coaching is teaching, right?
that's how I started. I started off with young kids. And
Yes.
again, I always say, if you're a trainer, you're a coach on some level. You're teaching the game,
You're
which is
teaching.
you're teaching the game of basketball. And to be able to do that, that is part of coaching. Coaching is teaching. Those things would go hand in hand. So for me, I started out as my own boss, coaching and
Yep.
training young kids. That's exactly how I started back in 1999. So I think that,
But Phil, I think that's the formula, and that's what I mean by making pivots, right?
right.
So, like for myself, my first coaching gig was a graduate assistant at Texas A&M.
Hmm.
Then I went to assistant coach and realized that I wasn't going to grow at the rate I needed to grow. So, if I got a head high school job, I would be able to develop players from the high school level all the way through checks and balances. And when I look back now, that was like a very valuable piece for me
Yeah.
because I really had room to make errors and learn how to really communicate
Mm,
and be a great teacher. And that's
mm,
why when people say, well, Chris, you're like the best trainer in the world, I was like, no, I'm just a master teacher. And so I'm a master teacher, and people don't glorify teaching. But if you're a great teacher, everybody comes to you. Like
hmm
you're a great teacher. And me and you are not afraid of being a teacher. You don't have to be coach handy. You
mm.
can be teacher handy.
No, but it goes hand in hand with that, right? As we're teachers, we also got to be students. So
Yes.
every time I step on the floor, I don't care who it is, the other coaches, players. Every time I step on the floor, I'm learning something. Every time, even to this day. And there's no limit of knowledge that I can gain from someone else, right?
That's valuable.
In part of sharing knowledge and being a teacher, we also have to be students. Right? This is how we keep continuing to grow in our knowledge, in our own knowledge. So I'm always trying to soak up as much knowledge as I can because
That-
look, there's 500 different ways to teach the game.
yep.
And what you said earlier, Chris, was so crucial. People always ask, well, why are you so giving of your knowledge? Well, when I die, I can't take it to the grave with me,
You
right?
can't. There's
Look,
no way.
God has blessed us with knowledge. Why not share it? And then
You have to share it.
as you're sharing it, empower others to run with it. Hey man, that knowledge is yours now. Right? Do with it what you want. Just don't mess it up.
Right.
Right?
And
So
that's amazing, Phil. That's amazing. And when you think about it, Phil, when you are a master of something, you're a master of your craft, your job is to share.
all right,
And because if you were inferior to being a master, then you couldn't be the master because you couldn't share the knowledge. But
all right,
master teachers are people that are always point out. And I have an analogy for that. If I'm always point out to others, whether it's coaches, trainers, little league coaches, to players, then I'm always leaving room for somebody to pour into me.
mm-hmm.
But if my cup is full, nobody can pour in.
All right, 100%.
So I need to be giving and giving and giving. Kennedy, bring another of those questions up. We got a few of them. Now, Phil, you being my mentor,
Hmm.
my brother, my friend, who were your mentors?
Man, my mentors, Chris, were one was my father. My father was not only my father, but he instilled and taught me how to work at a young age. Pops was old school. He didn't play sports, so his work ethic was something that was put into me at an early age. I saw my dad get up. We used to call it dark o'clock. He was up before the sun came up to go to work. Right? He went to work every day, but he would come home and go to bed before the sun went down.
Right.
And so as a young kid, I never understood that. I'm like, man, why my dad going to bed so early? But my father was a huge mentor of mine. I had
Amazing.
one of my older brothers was a mentor of mine. And then there was a gentleman by the name of a couple guys that really raised me in the game of basketball. Gus Armstead, who's like
Hmm.
the guru of guru. Gus was training when we were kids. Like, so he
He
was
was doing his thing.
before the training industry was an industry. You know, Gus was somebody that really kind of schooled me on how to be in the business. You know, I had another guy named Glenn Graham. You know, these are all names that people don't know, but you know, these were guys that were really close to me that just really taught me layers of the training game. And then my family, man, you know, my brothers and my father, man, just really instilled a lot of my work ethic.
That's amazing because a lot of people would when they look at mentors, they always look outside of their home. When
Mm.
your mentor, your first mentor is right there before you.
All right.
Like it's crazy, man. That is crazy. So
100%,
Phil,
Chris.
that's crazy. So we're gonna pick